All right, guys. Well, thank you for coming out to a bunch of short guys. Our very special meeting here. This is our first Zoom live chat that we've ever really done. We're going to be participating over there in YouTube and in Facebook. So if you guys are catching us over there, feel free to participate in the chat. We're going to do a little bit later some questions and answers. Right now, we're going to go to a few off the topics. But before we do that, I want to introduce my good friend Jay Schuh. Jay Schuh's right here, the man. Say hi, Jay.
Hey
You're
everybody,
live.
thanks for joining. I'm working on muting myself on these things. Pandemic has been great for me. I'm learning how to talk less.
You're coming in 5 minutes. You're coming in 5 minutes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so guys, this is our first Zoom chat. So we're probably going to have a few technical difficulties at some point in this. It's just the way these things go, but bear with us. We're going to do our best here. You gotta love the little tech demo thing that we did yesterday. So some of y'all might contact on Facebook. Going to the Facebook is probably the best way to ask us questions in the middle of the week, by the way. Or you can go to our YouTube channel or the Industry Giants channel on YouTube. We check that stuff pretty regularly. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let me transfer. Sorry, guys, I'm learning the best way of going through these. So if you've never been, okay, that does not like that. Okay. So if you have never been to a bunch of short guys, y'all might be asking yourselves, what is a bunch of short guys? A bunch of short guys is basically a community of artists, creatives, animators, painters, life drawing artists that just want to come together and tell stories. Okay, so we focus now on just one hardware or one software. We don't, do step-by-step tutorials or 5 quick tips, whatever software. We go for the stuff when education, what does the industry, what do you need to know to see the industry, how to keep creative in the industry, how to navigate this whole, business of being an artist, a digital artist, a VR artist, all these types, in today's new growing economy. So we do monthly meetings like this at the community college. We have speakers come in every month for our monthly meetings. We have people come in from all over the world. Brian Caldwell had just came in from France to do a special talk on this one. And then at the end of the year, that all coalesces to a Industry Giants big conference that we have at Gillies, Texas for the last 2 years. But we've been doing the Industry Giants for over 15 years, I think, was the last count. Yeah, so I think next year would probably be 15. So going to sing with 2020. We did some interviews this past year with some of our artists. We do live drawing for a full day. We do one-on-one portfolio reviews. This past year, we had over 30 different artists doing reviews. I think we saw over 120 different portfolios. So that's more one-on-one time than you're really going to get at almost any other conference. I'm going to move this. Sorry, guys. Every time I want to share a different folder, I have to switch it. So this is just some things that we do to bring the community together for a networking opportunity that you just normally wouldn't have in any other type of place. We also do a big winter party. This was at AMP Studios. They're good friends of ours. For the past couple of years, they've been hosting this big party. They have this huge green screen area where we just buy a bunch of people drinks and we just say, come and hang out and let's chit chat. Just some other random photos I threw in here. I want to say a special thank you to all our volunteers. These guys are really the backbone, just like Ethan and Marshall, down here in the chat. These guys really make everything go smooth. That people like me can just come up here and talk, and those guys are just they're doing their thing. Sorry, uh, cat guy in the video. Uh, we had a speaker like Alan McKay last year. Just a few more videos. Just want to make sure. And yeah, so basically, if you want to know how to become a short guys, you've already done it. You're here today. You're a creative. You create art, and you're watching these videos, or you attend our things, or you participate in our Facebook. You are a bunch of short guide member already. We don't do dues or anything like that. Sometimes we ask for an email so we can tell you, hey, when's our next meeting? And that's the biggest thing from you guys that really helps is that you just participate in the conversation. We just want to know that we have a good community out there. Everyone's always posting up jobs or questions. I was able to get some good insight on how to, do virtual interviews, from our folks, on the Facebook. So it's just been a great during this time that we feel disconnected, but we're all still coming together during this time. And I also want to say, I'm sorry it's taken us a while to get back on track here, guys. But over the past couple of months, things have been kind of, you know, in flux. So we've had to make some new decisions. We've had to change gears, and we wanted to make sure we were still bringing you guys the best quality content that we could. Um, we do have some upcoming meetings planned. We're probably going to be doing a monthly meeting like this style Q&A for an hour or so every month. Until we know, what the new landscape is going to be coming out of this. Hopefully it doesn't take too much time, but for now, for the short term, we're going to stay in this mode. Okay, but it's also going to allow us to maybe do a little, things differently, but also, for the better. Jay's going to be talking more about changing up gears and really, um, seeing how basically, we have these new um, sorry, I'm freezing on my words. Basically, just challenges in how you must uh, reflect and change with the changing tide. Basically, before I get too far ahead, too, I just want to say we will still have industry giants in some form or fashion. Okay, we're gonna strive for it. We think it's probably going to be some type of virtual, maybe some type of in person, but we'll go into more of that in the coming weeks. We do have some marketing already done, posters are already done for it, uh, and we will probably still have T-shirts like this, available. Um, yes, I do want to. While we're on the subject of COVID, I do want to bring up one more thing that you guys can help with. This was produced, if y'all haven't heard about this human project, this was produced by Robert Atkins at Balance Media. He's done this in conjunction with the SMU lab. And basically, you can go to their website, you can just download this Windows Microsoft Store app, and it will install on your PC, and it will use unused cycles in your CPU to help run genetic folding and genetic treatments for COVID. Okay, guys, because this is going to be an ongoing thing for a while. We could really use anyone's help. It takes very little of your actual CPU power, but it goes a long way, especially when we cluster all these machines together. It's all volunteer. It doesn't take control of your PC or anything. I wouldn't do it on your work machine unless you get your manager's approval. So that's the only caveat I would bring to that. But just hats off to the Balance Media team for doing this because they've done things like this for years, just gaming with a purpose. So I'm super glad to have those guys as just friends of the channel. Um, Another thing I wanted to bring up, and basically I just want to take a moment, guys, because I mean I know there's a lot of things that we're being hit by news all the time. Just you know you know, people say this, people say that, and we're not here to play politics. We're here to look at the great, inspiring stuff that the world of creatives are doing. With that, I wanted to say congratulations to the RealFX team, and especially Don Dixon, because he's been super vocal on social media, just posting everything he can. Just staying, I mean, he's one of those guys who stay creative every day, drawing, trying to get down, but he's got, if you follow his page, he's got a bunch of scoop and behind the scenes stuff. Um, which I'm not finding right now. But if you go to his page, you'll find it. It's not very hard to see. I want to also say thanks, Alex Atuna, for being so understanding. He was our planned meeting come March when everything kind of changed on us. But we will have him back on here in some form or fashion in the coming months. Okay. Just want to let you guys know if you are big ArchViz guys like I am. Was really looking forward to this interview. But we will have this coming up in the future. Okay. Another thing I wanted to say, just again, inspiring stories I found. That thing. Okay, so well, anyways, this guy Gregory, I'm gonna mess up his name, Punchawas. He took he was making some great molds and masks, kind of like what Brett Briley does, but was doing like full makeup mask on his site this week and doing a lot of Facebook Lives. And I just thought I would just mention that. Um, and he's actually joined the group, so I just wanted to
So,
say,
really quickly, Daniel, I'm going to interrupt because I
yeah,
am Schuh. Greg has actually been a longtime supporter of a bunch of short guys. He actually, I believe, developed the Ray Harryhausen poster that we
did
did
he?
when
Okay.
Ray came into town. So Greg used to work at Janimation, and so he's a huge industry expert and a big friend of the organization.
Yeah. I did not know that. That actually reminds me of one other thing I wanted to say, guys. Again, if this is your first time, this group has been going on for over 20 years. And just one of like 15 board members or 15 leadership members who just, we all change gears, every year. So, I'm here today, but, sometimes Marshall or Ethan, Jay, he's been in this chair many times. We've had Vince, Amy Cass, just a plethora of artists. And we just change gears and we're always looking for new people and we're bringing up our volunteers. Again, this is why I harp on our volunteer program because we do a lot of mentorship with those guys. Um, and then one other person I wanted to bring up is Nelson Lib. He was going to be our Houdini speaker for April. He will be coming in to do a talk as well during this time. But if you guys to his website, he's posting up a weekly blog now, just FX, and he's just a really great guy, and I can't wait to actually talk to him a little more. So with that, I want to make sure, do we have, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I just want to say, do we have any questions that we need to address right now, Marshall? And if you want to, we can also post up the poll. Uh, so yeah, guys, this is just, it's a new landscape. So we're just trying to figure out what, works best for everyone when it comes to this. So if you don't like this, please let us know. Just answer these couple, we only got like a few questions, not like 30 questions or anything. Um, sure, sure. Yeah, go ahead and go into the chat, ask any questions you might have, especially short guy specific. Well, that's great, guys. I mean,
about this meeting.
and that'll also tell us, guys, where do we need to be posting this, to keep you guys more involved.
I'm sorry, Ethan, I did not put nasa.gov on here, but
I don't know if y'all were in on the pre-chat, but we're all very interested on the SpaceX. So we're basically like this right around the time SpaceX is hopefully launching today. That is everyone's hope.
all right, looks like we got pretty good participation. So I'm going to show you guys here, just so you know. We have a lot of friend-to-friend transmission, so just remind you to keep your distance, wear your mask, but tell people about Short Guys. Anyway, and we've got one more here, just to gauge who our audience is. So we want to know if you're a professional or a student, and what industry you're in. And I'm very sorry if I haven't included your industry. Trying to think of several industries.
Zach is saying that Lizzie was our big spokesman for his group.
Yeah.
So that's great. But she's awesome, so I'm okay with that. Do we have any questions? Do you have any? Is there any questions in the chat we need to address right now?
All right. So we're getting to about 75%, and some people are answering, which is fine. Oh,
Marshall.
Wait.
Marshall, are there any questions in the chat that we need to address?
I don't see anything.
Okay.
I'm a future filmmaker. Yeah, here we go. So I'm going to show these results. So we have a lot of people in animation, games, motion graphics, education, and other. And we'll probably expand this later on, but thank you very much. And
that's great.
We're done with those. I'm out.
Okay. Jay, I know I was going to switch over to you, but I forgot there's one more quick thing I need to bring up. Sorry. Guys, just one quick second. This is very important to me and us. I know, but I'm gonna calm things down for a second. This is our friend John Stratz, guys. He actually got me to come back to the industry, or come back into a bunch of short guys. He was a short guy, back in like 2001, and then kept up, doing speaker talks for us once he went to LA. And Fortunately, around April 1st time, he passed away on us very suddenly. It had nothing to do with COVID. It was just one of those things that kind of happened. He had a great life there in LA. He had worked on Orville. He had actually moved up to a visual effects supervisor, the lead visual effects supervisor on Orville. But he had started at Pixelmundo working on Green Lantern. He had gotten a sorry, this is hard for me sometimes. He had worked on Hugo, that won a visual effects Oscar that year. Got to meet Martin Scorsese, and then just went on to do a plethora of things. I got the chance to talk to his family. I got a chance to be on a Zoom call with him and his loved ones out there, and we sat around for almost 3 hours, just remembering the guy this past month. So I just wanted to say, this is another thing with the short guys, is that we make these strong connections with each other, and sometimes things like this can happen. I just wanted to say this guy was an inspiration to us all. He gave us so much industry advice, I remember this one SIGGRAPH. Me and him were SIGGRAPH buddies. We would go to SIGGRAPHs all the time to each other. We met Alan McKay at a SIGGRAPH, and that's how he became a friend of the channel. But even one SIGGRAPH, I came over there, and he had me just looking at some shots and saying, this is how I do budgets, and I got to learn how Hollywood effects shots get budgeted, especially to just a small guy working out of his house. So me and him budgeted like some Netflix shots that he had worked on. But anyways, I wanted to bring that up, guys. Our heart goes out to his family. And yeah, just a moment for a great guy. Here's to you, John. No problem.
Ah!
It's multiple.
I'm glad I put Liz back into the photos.
All right. Let me share my screen then. All right. Can everyone see my presentation? Yes? No? Maybe?
Yeah. No, everything's good.
Okay, awesome. Well, hi, folks. How's it going? Welcome to the presentation. If you didn't get it before, it's How to Stay Creative During COVID. One of the new Facebook channels that I have discovered is Buddhist humor. And this was...
Okay, I was called. I see.
This was one of the cartoons that popped up, and it in these interesting times, it kind of makes us reflect on what is life, and I thought this was kind of an interesting way to look at things. As I go through my presentation today, I'm a huge reader, and this was told by all the books behind me. And I've always said one of my favorite sayings is leaders are readers. So every now and then on slides like this, I'm going to post some things that I've shared in other presentations and as I talk to people. But I truly believe that books are a source of deep knowledge. And if you haven't read yet a lot during this time, I highly recommend it. So in my presentation, I'm going to have some books that I'm going to share that I think I've read and I've learned from, or I have people I know that have written the books, and I'm going to kind of share their work as well. As sailors would try to navigate the sea, often it was the stars that provided direction and understanding where they were in the world. And at the beginning of COVID, I had an opportunity to read an article from an astronaut. His name is Scott Kelly, and he came up with these top strategies for coping with isolation. His first was to follow a schedule and then go outside. Now, he was in space, so he couldn't go outside. So what he did is he actually watched and listened to sounds of nature. And he had one experiment for NASA, which was creating a plant. And so that became really important to him. And so as human beings, our connection with nature is actually really important. Also, get a hobby, something that inspires you, something that, is different or in your vein, but is a stretch for you. And then keep a journal. I'm going to be talking about that a little bit longer or later on in the presentation. And his last recommendation was take time to connect. So I'm going to kind of go through each of these. This article really framed and gave me a framework for me to follow. And ever since March, I've been adjusting myself to come up with something. So what I've done next is, and his first advice, follow schedule. So I've been starting my days around 6 a.m. And the first thing I do, this picture is actually from this morning, is I take a morning walk. And I have a Fitbit that tracks how many steps. I have another goal of at least 10,000 steps a day. There are times when, because of everything I'm doing, I call it beast mode, where I'm actually getting in 10,000 steps before 10 a.m. And so that's something that I've done every day. And there are many days when I don't feel like getting up and going for a walk, but I do, because I've learned that routines are really important to help us get motivation and drive to get more done during the day. And then what I decided is there were all these projects that I have around the house that I haven't done because I'm normally really, really busy, and I'm working 40 to 60 hours a week, on average about 50 or 60 hours a week. And these things just are in the bottom of my priority list. Well, now that I'm furloughed from work, I have time that I didn't have. And so I'm taking on these huge projects. And so this was my jungle project. And I've been posting kind of my progress online for those of you that are following me or connected with me on Facebook. Occasionally, I think I've posted something on. The other thing that I've done is I grew up in Germany, but I haven't lived there since 1988. When I grew up there, I was over there 18 years, and then I came to the United States. And I have kind of, because I haven't practiced my German, I've kind of lost touch. So I'm using Duolingo and some books I have to kind of bone up on my German and learn it. And so one of my other language goals that I have is Spanish and Russian. Russian is kind of interesting to me because I'd like to learn a new language. And then steam therapy, Corona, we don't really know what it is. And I was surfing the web and I found out that Egyptians have started using steam in bathhouses. And even before this, I would always sit in the steam room and I always felt better and I always was healthier whenever I had going to the gym regularly and sit in the steam room. So I created my own little steam room with a towel. You've seen it on TV, just hot water over a bowl. And I just, while this is happening, I actually play meditation music. It's just kind of, this stuff, the gongs, the kind of, Asian vibe. And I meditate. And while I'm meditating, I'm not thinking about anything else. I repeat words of serenity, tranquility, peace, love, health, wealth, happiness. And I repeat those things over and over and over. And those are the things I want to bring into my life. So they've helped me. Now, here's another cartoon, obviously from the Buddhist humor. When I have missed some morning meditation, and I found this really funny because it was, this is like what happens if you get off track, right? And I just love the symbolism there. So it's important to go outside. And John Fitch, who I met at maybe will be the only conference I got to speak at live this year, Voltage Control, the Control the Room conference, and I met him and he said, take a nature bath. So occasionally, instead of just walking around the neighborhood, I'll walk a little further and find a path and a forest that we have around my house. And I'll just kind of do that at least once or twice a week and kind of really go away from the house and do it. This is John Fitch. Like I said, he works from Voltage Control, and he just released a new book. I haven't had a chance to read it, but I'm going to order it. And I've always liked John and his vibe that he gives, because it's about finding the balance, right, between stress and not stressing. This is actually a picture I took while I was walking, and amid all of this, there's still opportunities to find beauty in the world. I think there's a lot of negativity, a lot of uncertainty, but there is beauty in the world, and I think it's important for us to kind of take time to look at it. When we see things, let's say for instance a tree, it's really interesting how we can look at the same thing and have completely different perspectives. And I like the last panel the best, because we tend to look at things as to what we can get out of it. And sometimes we should just look at things for what they are. And it's not only things, but it's also people. Instead of just looking at people for what we can get from them, I think we should embrace people for just who they are, and the fact that they're there is good enough. In my classes, I've taught this for a long, long time, and it's thoughts equal behaviors equal results. And I tell my students when I teach this in class that this formula is about putting in your adjectives. So negative thoughts equal negative behaviors equal negative results. Positive thoughts equal positive behaviors and positive results. And because this talk is about creativity, and it's the mindset that really I teach in my class, and I want to kind of reinforce in this talk, is creative thoughts do lead to creative behaviors and do lead to creative results. So it truly is your mindset and your perspective that is going to increase the amount of creativity that you produce in your life. Here's another cartoon from Buddhist humor, and I'll let you absorb it for a second. I think we overthink a lot. And when I'm teaching, I've noticed that there's a lot of paralysis through analysis. A lot of students don't start something or don't get something going because they're overthinking it. They're saying, I don't know this yet, or I don't know that. And it's not just students. I am guilty of this as well. And it's always a good reminder to say, am I overthinking this, or should I just get started? And that's where hobbies really come in, and try to do something creative every day. This is a picture of me doing one of my coffee picks that I posted lately about 9 years ago, almost a decade ago, I guess. A friend of mine was having a conversation about my kids. Actually, it was my kids, and my kids were young now. I guess they were about 3 and 5 years old, and they figured out that I could draw. So they kept coming to me and saying, Dad, can you draw a kitty? Dad, can you draw a doggy? And so I was kind of complaining to my friend that I was drawing all these cats and dogs. And she said, well, I want you to draw me a cat. And I go, are you serious? And I go, yeah, I was just complaining about it. And she goes, well, I want one. So I scratched out this quick little cat and I sent it to her. And she goes, oh, well, I wanted a dog. And I was like, are you kidding? So I scratched that out as well. And then I decided, I'm always telling my students that if they really want to get good at something, they need to do it. They need to practice, practice, practice. And so I decided to start doing these. And right now, I think I've done about 865 coffee picks. And one of my goals to stretch myself is I want to do 1,000 of these by the end of the year. And I've never done 1,000 of anything. So I think being consistent and having discipline is a key to getting a lot of stuff done. I love this. This is from an old TV show in the late 70s, early 80s called Kung Fu. And I love when he says, why am I not advancing in my technique, master? Have you seen the sunset when the seagulls fly flaming across the plain? Yes, master. And the water from the waterfall hitting the rocks without achieving anything? Yes, master. And the moon reflecting on calm water? Yes, master. There's your problem. You keep watching stupid shit instead of practicing. Now, the stupid shit we keep watching now is the news. That's actually something that I recommend you don't do, because we already know what's on the news. It's COVID 24/7, 7 days a week. I'm not saying don't completely, check in, I guess, if you want every now and then, but the worst thing you can do to yourself right now is just stick to the news on a day-to-day basis, because most of it isn't great news. During this process, I just turned 50 last year, and a lot of my friends that I went to high school with are turning 50 years old now. And so one of my very best friends, Ed Lavoie, was turning 50, and he loves guitars. And I had done this one stained glass pick. It was kind of a stained glass looking, it was digital, and he really liked it. So he actually asked me for the original art from the book cover that I designed. And I knew he liked it, so I decided I wanted to do something special for him, because I've known him for over 30 years. And so I started to do it, and this is kind of the process. I inked out my line art and then put in kind of the base colors, and then that's kind of how it looked when I got finished. And so this is the second time I've ever tried to do this style, and I have about 3 or 4 other ones that I think I'm going to try to do for people that have had their 50th birthdays this year. And so that's something. So I think trying new techniques or trying something, don't let perfection be the enemy of good. I think, and again, I'm guilty of this as much as anyone else. I am a recovering perfectionist. I truly want everything to be perfect, and that is impossible. And so because of that, I have delayed working on things. I have not shown people things. I have, kind of shot myself in the foot for the progress that I would have made, because I'm letting perfection be the enemy of good. If there's one thing that I would say that is preventing you from having so much more output, it is this one thing. And it's something to be mindful of. And during this time, just do more work. Just get out there and do it. This is an example. I actually, another story, I got invited one year to go down to Comic-Con. And at Comic-Con, I was sitting there at the tables, and I'm not a comic book artist, but I got invited because the organizer had seen some of my coffee picks and said, hey, I want you to come down and be on a table and everything else. So I'm sitting there with these guys that have worked for years on the comic trail. And I showed them I had some art that I produced with comic book characters. And this old veteran, you can just imagine, this old veteran kind of looks at me, looks at my comic stuff. And I had been scratching out some more cartoon stuff. And he goes, yeah, stick to the cartoons, man. So that was years ago. And it's always kind of left this little twinge, because I knew my comic stuff wasn't as good as the professional comic artist I was sitting next to. But I have another friend of mine, and he's turning 50 this year, and so he loves Captain America. So I decided to scratch it out, and this is how the line art turned out. It's not perfect, but it's decent, I guess. And so I colorized it, and he loves it. He loves it. He loved it. So, if I practice this more, I'd probably get better. And that's the thing. I'm not as good as I could be right now because it's funny how one little comment sometimes can leave an impression on you. And that's that thoughts equal behaviors equal results. Because I took that little thought and it kind of was that negative nugget that kind of kept swirling in my brain, I've kind of avoided doing a lot of comic art over the years because stick to the cartoons. So this next project I actually did for a friend of mine as a client. I got paid to literally do work. Yes, this is the first project in my 25-year career where I've literally got paid to draw poop. And so here's his concept that he wanted me to come up with. I don't know where this is going to go, but he paid me to do it. And so I came up. And so, not everything that you do is going to be award winning, but I knocked it out. It was fun. I've never drawn poop before. So there you go. And this, if you've ever been in any class or been to any talk, I always include this because I truly believe this is the best way to get good at anything. And it's practice, 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 research, 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 network, network, network. If you do these three things for any discipline that you want to get good at, you will get better. I cannot guarantee that you will be the best in the business, but I can guarantee you that the students that I have taught at SMU and Collin College and Texas A&M Commerce and all the different colleges that I've had an opportunity to teach at, these students that follow this have gotten jobs in the industry. So that's one of the reasons why I include this so much in every slide. Another of Scott's advice was keep a journal. I have kept a journal since 1989. And in it, I guess, I don't know, the last 5 or 10 years, every now and then I will put a picture in it. And this is an example of when I got an opportunity to work with two of my very good friends, Skip Howard and Mark Gilpin, who owns Spacey, which is a technology company. And I had an opportunity to work with Mark on developing the first prototype for the Mercedes touch car that was in the mall. And there was an article written and everything. And it's really fantastic. So make sure that you have a journal. And right now, we are living in unprecedented times. Your grandkids are going to ask you, what was it like to live during the great corona, whatever? And if you capture your story now, it'll be easier for you to talk about it with them later when they do. The last bit of advice was take time to connect. I love this one. And this is truly Buddhist humor. Is it okay for monks to use email? Yes, of course it's okay, as long as there are no attachments. I love it. So one of the really cool things that has happened during COVID is I am in a lot of webinars like you're in right now. And I have met a lot of new people as I'm getting into these webinars to learn new things. I'm meeting new people on a regular basis because some of these webinars happen every week. And I've met the folks from Mural and Voltage Control, and I don't know if I would have been as engaged or had the opportunity to learn as much as I'm learning if COVID wouldn't happen. So it's Brian Sullivan is always saying, turn lemons into lemonade, lemon pie, lemon cookies, lemon. So it's about your perspective. It's the thoughts equal behaviors equal results. If you have that right mindset, then you can push yourself forward and make yourself better during these interesting times. This is my good friend, Mike Courtney. who I had an opportunity that once I had jumped into mural and he was working for nonprofits, I was able to teach him what I had learned. And now he's doing it all the time. And he may even know more than I do at this point. But the idea is when you teach what you know, you learn it better. And so this is an opportunity to also teach what you're learning. Love this. Love Calvin and Hobbes. Obviously, one of my favorite cartoons ever. And the truth is, never, in my opinion. Almost the older they get, the more you realize you don't know. And that's something that I guess holds true for me, which is why you have mentors, right? And some of you may recognize Brian Sullivan. He is somebody that I have probably learned the most with. I worked with him at Sabre. He's my boss. We were friends long before I came to Sabre. And I have probably learned more things from Brian than anyone else in my life. And I was privileged to actually do the art for his book that you're seeing here, The Design Studio Method. I've also had an opportunity recently to do some webinars with other amazing friends that we teach at SMU. And so it's about getting out there and being supportive and helping people. You can also find new mentors. Douglas Ferguson is head of voltage control, who's a facilitator. That's something I'm really becoming an expert on, is remote facilitation and online training. And Douglas is an amazing, amazing man, and I consider him to be a new mentor for what he's taught me about facilitation. So thanks, Douglas, if you hear this. It's also a time now to learn new technologies. And this is Preston McCulley. He has been a very good friend. He, Brian Sullivan, and myself started the UX certification program at SMU. And I didn't have an Oculus. And so before COVID really was getting crazy, I went over and borrowed his Oculus, and I've been hanging out in virtual reality. And I have been interested in virtual reality since the 90s. I mean, even before it, even when I saw, the old 80s sci-fi stuff about virtual reality, I've loved it. And I'm so excited to see that technology has finally caught up and allowed us to do augmented reality and virtual reality in a way that I think is going to change the landscape. I think more than anything else, COVID is going to change augmented and virtual reality for us to learn and do business in different ways. Here's something I highly recommend. Get a learning bucket list. The first thing I did was get on my whiteboard and write a complete list of all the things I want to learn. Now, I'm learning German, and honestly, I'm behind on my bucket list because I'm actually so busy. I never thought I'd be so busy, but if you get that routine, like I was telling you, if you're disciplined, you'll be amazed how much you can get done before 9 a.m. and how busy you are during the day because you have these things that you can't do. I've also had an opportunity to spend a lot more time with my family. And my wife and my kids love to play cards. We're playing hearts here. And we have a lot of fun. I mean, when we play cards, it's great to see my kids laugh. And my whole family's competitive. So, find an opportunity to do that. Also, I've been playing virtual D&D. Preston came up. We were having a conversation. He said, hey, would you be interested in playing virtual D&D? And I said, man, I haven't played D&D since I was like 13 years old. And he goes, yeah, let's do it. And I had dice, and I even had some of the books because I played a couple times with my kids now to try to get into it. But it's great. It's fantastic. And I love being not thinking about what's going on outside for a while. And D&D was one of those things that really got me creative. And so something to do. I really, really, really considered making this a Corona bottle, but I didn't I thought, no, too soon. So it's Dos Equis. And don't forget to take breaks. Even during this, you can get wrapped up, and you can go to extremes. You can go from doing nothing to trying to do everything all the time and time boxing every single minute of your life. But you have to take breaks because you'll burn out. Here's a fortune cookie I got. And, water can not only keep a ship afloat, but it can also sink it. And I chose to interpret this to be your thoughts. Your thoughts are probably the most powerful thing you have. And your thoughts can be used to help you or hurt you. And that's why it's so important, if you truly want to be creative, to not let those negative spirals consume your brain and just put you into a funk. Because as creatives, we're especially prone to depression. And these isolating times and uncertain times, it's really easy to kind of get wrapped up in those negative thought spirals. And I want you to know that your thoughts are either going to make this a productive, amazing time, and you're making the best of it, or you're going to look back and see this as one of the worst times in your life. We can't control what's happening outside, but we can control how we think about what's happening and not let it get us. There are a lot of things we can't control, so let's focus on the things we can. One of my life hacks is that when I was doing my projects, I was also listening to books. And I had an opportunity to do another webinar with Adapt and Overcome. And Brian actually did another interview with them. And during that interview webinar, this gentleman, Jason Redman, who wrote the book Overcome, was there. And he's a former Navy SEAL who got caught in an ambush and lost half of his face and almost severed one of his arms. And it made me think, our expectations of how life is supposed to work is we sometimes think that, well, I'm going to start here and I'm just going to go here, because if I do this thing, then that's going to give me that thing. And we have this continual expectation that life is going to be from one point to another. And it's not how life works, right? And actually, if I would really make this chaotic, it could be a scribbly line crossing all over itself. But our points that we've had in our journey take us to places we don't know where we're going. And this coronavirus, where we find ourselves now, is an example of that. And Jason referred to it in his book as an ambush. And he said that when you're in an ambush, where you get hit marks the X. And in his case, it was physical. He was caught in an ambush. Enemies were shooting at him, and he was caught right in the middle of that X. And his first instinct was to drag himself away from the X. What we also do, it can be mental. When bad things happen to us, we can stay on the X. And if we stay on the X, we're constantly reminding ourselves of what those bad things are and not move off the X. And we just sit there and we spiral. Again, those negative thought spirals, we're still on the X. We can't move past the thing that got us on the X. And you need to do that. He gives us a framework called REACT when we find ourselves in an ambush. And the R is recognize your reality. You have to recognize really, truly where you are, and then evaluate your position. Okay, what does this mean? Then look for your exit routes. Well, if this is cut off, what do I now have to explore? And then find a direction. And when you find a direction, it's really important to communicate that direction to people who care about you or are on your team, because then they know that you do have a direction. You're not just sitting on the X. And the last most important thing is to take action. One of the things I also always say in my classes, that if you're somebody who struggles with procrastination, and you're somebody who is always putting things off till tomorrow, I said there's a phrase, it's action TNT, which means action today, not tomorrow. If you have the opportunity to get something done, get it done. Because there's a lot of times when you procrastinate in things and you think, oh, I'll just do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes and something else pops up, and then things gets extended and things gets extended. And again, I'm still guilty of that. And I challenge myself every day for how can I take action today, not tomorrow. So life ambushes can bring a lot of clarity to us. They can give us a purpose and help us understand ourselves better and determine our own why as to why we do things. One of the reasons I helped found a bunch of short guys was because 20 years ago or so, when Short Guys was founded, there was no place for animators or gamers or visual effects artists to go. There was a Dallas Producers Association and Women in Film and a lot of other, and the American marketing folks, but there was no place for animators. So the founders got together and we created a group. It started off as us working on a short film, but then it evolved into a community that exists today. My why, the reason I teach, the reason I'm doing this today is because I want to help you as a creative make a living as a creative. That's why I teach. That's my why. That's my passion. That's my purpose in life, is to help creatives, give creatives an opportunity for you to do what is in your heart, to do what is in your DNA, to be creative. Right? And my just cause is helping Short Guys. And Short Guys is not about me. It's about the community. It's about you. It's about having more people and helping and supporting each other the best way we can as a community. When we find ourselves in this situation, it's normally almost like the hero's journey. We have a conflict, and then we have to change, and then we have to adapt, and then we'll survive. This is how we are going to get through this period in time. I don't know what, and I'm a futurist, but I have zero idea of what next year is going to look like. I truly don't, because this isn't over. We're in the middle of this. I do know, though, that this conflict has forced us to change, and we are adapting, and we will survive as a society. We will survive. We will come out of this. And one of the inspiring things as that will probably stimulate more innovation than the past 20 years, because people are thinking through how we overcome and adapt to the situation we're in. Jason Redman also points out this pyramid, and it's about effort. When we make no effort at the bottom of the pyramid, there are no results. Right? Thoughts equal behaviors equal results. It's your thoughts. And a lot of times we get stuck in a rut, and we get comfortable with where we are and what we're doing and what we know and what we've learned and the expertise. And that gets into that fixed mindset that I've actually talked about in my book. And it's really the growth mindset, that next level up on the pyramid, where we learn new things, where we succeed. Because if we stay in the rut, we're just staying where we are. We're not growing. We're not learning. It's the discomfort. That is the area where we go. We can choose to go to the top of the pyramid and have this be incredibly painful, burn ourselves out with stress and mistakes and worry, or we can choose to embrace the discomfort that this event has created and use it as an opportunity to grow and be more successful on the other side of this. It's a picture I took this morning as well, and it made me think of this. If you're not going anywhere, you aren't going anywhere if you're standing still. And that goes back to that paralysis analysis, right? The coronavirus is out there. I can't really do anything. I'm stuck. Well, maybe, but if you're standing still and not doing anything, you're not going anywhere. The opposite end is going so fast that you're missing all the important moments in life. And I think this is what we were doing, a lot of us were doing before Corona. Corona actually caused us to stop and reflect because there's a lot of divorces going on. I think a lot of people were really busy. And then when Corona hit, they said, oh yeah, I really don't like you. So let's get divorced. So it's really causing people to not fill their time with these other things just to get done and reflect on what's important to us, for better or for worse. So that's maybe a lesson to move forward, is to say maybe it's time that we don't go so fast that we still are missing those important moments in our life, right? It's about embracing the discomfort. We know that if you go to work out, you want to gently push your muscles past that comfort level, a little bit of pain, no gain, because that's where you get the most muscle growth. But you don't want to overstretch yourself either and wind up in the hospital. The 5 key areas of, and I'm checking my time, I'm over. I'll try to continue on, but there are 5 key areas of exceptional leaders that Jason points out in his book, and I highly recommend you get it or listen to it. It's spiritual, social, physical, mental, and emotional. The one point I want to make here is, as I was listening to the book, I realized that it's the emotional stuff for me that is the biggest challenge. And as leaders, if we look at how we are doing on each of these different layers, it gives us opportunities to grow. And okay, so we've gotten to this point in the conversation. Seems like a pretty normal presentation, but I am Jay Schuh, and I do things differently, right? I've actually had people say, just please be normal, and that's almost not possible for me. So I'm putting this warning up. If you are squeamish, you may want to close your eyes and not see this next slide, but I'm going to be really vulnerable here. Okay, so you've been warned. This is the first time that I have shared these pictures in public. In 2015, I got skin cancer, and I went to the doctor, who was a horrible doctor, and I went to her and I said, hey, I've got this thing in my lip, it's bleeding every now and then. Can I get some ointment or something? And without phase, no concern, no bedside manner at all, she goes, oh yeah, that's cancer. Now, what pissed me off is I had seen this doctor like 5 times before, and she was more concerned about me losing weight than this obvious cancer that was on my face that she didn't say anything about. Well, it wound up, they wound up having to cut a substantial portion out of my face. And when I went to the plastic surgeon that day, it was Mohs surgery. They kept cutting, and then if they didn't get it, they kept cutting again. I remember having over the blanket over my face, and the assistant to the plastic surgeon going, how are you going to fix this? Which didn't leave me feeling great. But obviously, I think she did a pretty good job, and I almost look normal. Okay, for those of you closing your eyes, I've switched the slide. I think getting in that comfort zone and definitely knowing that they were going to cut on me was a problem. Oh, also, the slide isn't there and I won't go back, but they wound up cutting about a 6-inch wide, 1-inch, 6-inch long, 1-inch deep, 1-inch wide fillet out of my arm. And so I really kind of related to Jason a little bit. I wasn't an enemy fire, but it was interesting. And so I don't know. I've never shared that before. So anyways, I think earlier I mentioned that fear is probably the thing that prevents us from doing more and being what is possible. And it's one of the reasons why I put that first slide in that we can go back to about, why are we trying to be so safe to get us to our death or something like that. But it's fear that holds us back, and we need to manage that. One of the things that I've been afraid of is to promote my book. I don't know why. I guess I didn't want to be that guy that's always pitching his book. And then I did a Google search really quickly to find my book, and it's nowhere. And I wrote this book for my students. My students asked me for a decade when I was going to put all these lessons and these stories and these things I wrote into a book. And I finally did it. It took me 4 years because I was afraid to get it published. I didn't want to get critiqued and reviewed and everything else. And now I really haven't pushed it. I haven't promoted it. So one of the things I'm going to do, which I'm totally afraid of doing, and I even bought a podcast mic way before all of this stuff, is I'm going to be doing a podcast, and it's going to be called Brillance, Exploring the Creative Mind. And so my goal and my deadline for that is July. So I'll be posting that, but it's going to be interviews and my thoughts on the creative process. So hopefully, if you like this, I'm going to be talking about other things. As we wrap this up, there was a video that I show in my class by Neil Gaiman, who wrote Coraline and Sandman, and he says, when things get tough, make good art. And I think things are tough now, and this is your opportunity to make good art. Of course, I have to end with another cartoon, and I love this. It's, what's the secret to eternal happiness? To not argue with fools. I disagree. Yes, you are right. And with that, I will move into Q&A and stop sharing my screen.
Wow, that was really great, Jay. Thank you so much for sharing all that, especially some of the personal things. So, I did take a few little questions, and if Marshall or anybody wants to chime in with any other questions that they saw were very interesting. A few things that came up was how do you get rid of the perfectionist mindset?
How do you get rid of the perfectionist mindset?
Yes, sir.
You don't get rid of it, you manage it. And what I mean by that is that you are always going to want to think that everything needs to be perfect. And what you have to do is you say, would I rather try to be perfect or actually get stuff done? And what I do is I remind myself about that. I just have to sit there and say, it's about, this is so bad. I saw in the chat that somebody was looking for my book, and I put it in, it doesn't even show up in Amazon. That's how badly I have promoted my book. But anyways.
We'll put it out there later.
Oh,
There he
okay.
goes.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
found it.
He's
But
done it.
yeah,
Okay.
I would say that that's the biggest thing is just remind yourself you're never going to get better if you don't do anything. And by being a perfectionist, you are slowing down the amount of things to do. In my book, there's a story about a student who's in a pottery class, and the instructor said, we can either do this. We can either give you a final grade based on one pot that's the best you can do, or I can give you a grade on the total amount of weight of all the different pots that you create over a semester. And you have a choice. You can decide to work on one pot the whole semester, or you can work on all these other pots, and the total weight of the amount of pots that you create will give you a grade. Well, what's interesting is those perfectionists who worked on the pot the whole semester, that one pot all semester, the people that just kept doing things and just kept doing more pots, their pots actually came out better and higher quality than those students that just worked on that one pot. It's getting outside of ourselves because you learn more by doing more. And that's kind of the secret to being better at things, is just do more of it. I hope that helped.
I think so. I think it was Marshall that brought up, keeping a schedule, and saying, hey, this has to be done at this point in time, and moving on with your day. And it's like, you know, we all put these little factors of like, this is good enough for this particular thing. And like you said, with some of your comic stuff, it's like, okay, I just want to get to the next thing. So I think that's really great. Um, one question that got posted earlier on was, when you find yourself working nonstop, even if you know you need to take a break, uh, i.e., I'm working far too long without taking a break because I can't find a stopping point, what have you done to pull yourself away?
Oh, so that is something that another hack that I've done is I love the beach. So I found 4K video on YouTube, and I found an 8-hour beach thing, and put on Pandora for, like, beach tunes, and I'll have the beach and I'm working, and then I'll look over and I'll see how long that video is gone, whether it's 1 hour or 2 hours, and I realize I haven't gotten up. So it's kind of give yourself an indicator that how long you've been there. And if you know it and you're not getting up, you need to get up and move anyways, because just sitting there, um, countless studies have been done that the great thinkers, the great creators in history move. They go for walks, they move around, they do things, and we were meant to move. So when we move, our brains work better. And they used to think that you couldn't get more brain cells back, and that was in the 50s, 60s, 70s. It's called neuroplasticity. And they now realize you can create more brain cells, but it requires movement. And from a functional perspective, if you're sitting still, there's no reason to have more brain cells. But if you're moving into new areas, experiencing new things, then your brain says, oh, wait, crap, I've got to create more brain cells for you to deal with these new environments and these new things and these new technologies. And that's why now they're doing all these games for people older than I am to keep their mental capacity up. Because if you're challenging yourself, if you're moving into new places, that can help you.
I wanted to bring up your keeping a journal
Sure.
thing. I think that's really inspiring because I don't think enough of us artists actually write. You know,
Yeah.
I know I'm bad about it. I don't write enough. But do you ever use that as like a focus of like looking back on your week? I'm like, what did I, do less of that I meant to do or something? Do you
So,
ever look at
so
it that way?
I'll be completely honest. Mostly what I use my journal for is I will find myself um, late at night, like 2 or 3 in the morning, and I'll be pondering over an event that just happened. Like I wrote in my journal when I got furloughed from Sabre, right? I was sitting there with a whiskey in my hand. It was about 2 a.m. and I was like, huh, okay, that happened. And then I'll just kind of write in my journal and just kind of get some of those thoughts out about what this means and what kind of things have happened. So if you went to my journal, there'd be weeks or months that I don't write in it every day. I think you can write in it every day, but I do kind of love the fact that I have at least a partial history that I've collected since I was about 18, 19 years old. So almost 30 years of my life from moments is collected in a journal that I have gone back every now and then and said, oh yeah, I remember that person. I remember that girl, that thing, that night, that. So I think it's a good thing. Anyways.
Sorry, I thought my cat was yelling at me. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. That's just a technical difficulty of living at home. I have a question from Sean K on YouTube. How do you get motivated and inspired again when it only happens on whims for me?
So that is the biggest difference between professionals and students, in my opinion. Students typically only do things when they feel like it. That's why they're not very productive. That's why they don't have a lot of things to show in their portfolio, because a lot of times, and I'm very frank about this in my class, I'll tell them the reason you're not very good at what you say you want to be good at is because you're just doing assignments for the grade and you're doing crap work. And every now and then you'll gold plate your crap and turn it in and hope your teacher will give you a good grade. It's back to that mindset philosophy. As a professional, there's been many times when I don't feel like working on a project, but I do it because there's a deadline and I'm professional and I do it. You have to have that same mindset for your personal work. If you truly want to be exceptional, and I've had the opportunity to know some of the best people in the world, that's the mindset that they have. They wake up every day, whether they feel like it or not, and do their work. They do their craft. And because they do it and they're disciplined and they do it every day, they're better than a lot of other people, and they're able to make more and do more because they have that disciplined approach towards it. Is there a secret to say, well, how do I then become more disciplined? You just need to do it. You need to wake up every day and say, I am going to do something creative every day. And you have to challenge yourself and commit yourself to that. Because if you're not, then you're just wishing that you're going to be a creative at some point in the future instead of committing to being a creative sometime in the future. And I think there's a big difference between wanting to be something and doing something. And the people that do.
Yeah, I loved your scheduling analysis. I think that's also another important thing that if you I listen to a lot of business analysts and people that also they have a lot of I noticed like business analysts and workout guys, fitness gurus, they really align in that they schedule things. You hear people, oh, I do a daily workout at 6 o'clock. Well, why don't you do a daily drawing at 6 o'clock? Why don't you do a daily this creative thing at 8 o'clock? Or it doesn't have to be daily; it can be once or 3 times a week. As long as you made that appointment with yourself to get back to yourself, I think that's important. Marshall, do you have any questions on your end, or Ethan? Just give us a second, guys. Okay.
Yeah, I'm totally willing to take questions from the people in the folks. I'm willing to stay as long as you want me to.
Hey, Jay, I have a question.
Hey, Chris.
Hey.
Chris from Fort Worth.
Yep. Hello. Okay, my question is, so be creative every day. I don't always have like creative ideas, but does it also include like doing master's studies? And I've been doing like a lot of videos like from schoolism. Does that include, is that part of the professional thing you're talking about? I try to come up with creative ideas and just kind of play around, but as a regular schedule, like you say you do, I try to do like different ways to increase my skills. What do you think about that?
So I also saw another question in there about idea overload. Like some people have idea overloads. So here's, and I'm just grabbing something on my desk. Here's a sketch. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a partially sketched out sketch, and it's kind of an eagle. And what I wanted to do with this is I have this idea of doing a whole series of chrome animals, right? I've had this idea of doing like just do animals that are chrome, and I actually wanted it to kind of be a little socially aware of the fact that if we don't preserve our animals, robot animals may be the only animals that the kids of the future get to see, right? So that was kind of because I have Tara Whitlash, who created Jar Jar Binks and is a huge animal advocate. We got in a conversation at CTN one year, and I thought, wow, that would be a really compelling series of illustrations. And I jotted it down, and I've had that sketch. And again, that worry, that fear, even in me, is, well, I'm not really good at the chrome stuff. That stuff can be hard, and what if it turns out like crap? And so because I've had that mindset, I have made zero progress on it. Does that make sense? So I want to tell you, Chris, that you're not alone first, but I also want to say you just have to keep doing things, and just, if you don't have any ideas, do a masterwork. Look at Frank Francetta or look at some of the masters and get inspired. And then if you have an idea that's kind of you get inspired by, grab another sheet of paper and just scratch something. And it doesn't matter if it's complete shit, because you don't have to show it to anybody like I just did there, right? That's, you guys are the first people ever to see that sketch, because not everything I do, I publish. And it's just, but I can't wait to have the courage to actually do that series that I want to do, right? And it'll happen, but don't beat yourself up either, because every creative, it's not just you, every creative I know still has fear no matter how good they get. So just bear in mind that you're not alone, and that will help you get more stuff done, because sometimes I think you feel you're alone. You feel like you're the only one struggling. You feel like you can't get it done. What the hell's wrong with you? And there's nothing wrong with you. You're just like the rest of us. It's just a matter of putting pencil to paper or getting in there and creating whatever art you need to create.
Oh, thanks, Jay.
Sure.
I'll tell my wife there's nothing wrong with me.
There's nothing wrong with you. She's awesome. Yeah, she is amazing. And she's the nicest woman I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, she also has a class on schoolism.
Yes, she's wonderful and the sweetest person.
Thanks, Jay.
Sure. So anybody else have I know we're way over time, but I'm willing to stay. It's not a problem. I'm here for you guys. So any other questions? Oh, okay.
So, okay, we'll just stay on until then.
You didn't tell me this was a telethon.
That'll be later. So hands up, who wants to do a 24-hour marathon?
Oh my gosh. I would need a lot more water or tea to do that. I see, I'll just kind of, I'm looking, oh, Lizzie, you already know that. Practice, 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 research, 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 network, network, network. I guess, Dave, when avoiding perfectionism, how do you decide when good enough is good enough and not just half-assing it? So when I was doing stuff for my clients, here's what I would do. I had a phrase called good enough for government work. And what that meant was this. If I thought that the client would love it, we were done, right? Because you have a certain amount of time that you're getting paid for, And if you noodle something to death, you're just getting paid less per hour. So what you need to do is figure out what is going to make the client ecstatic for the amount of time and money they paid, deliver that, and then you're good. And that's what I would call good enough for government work. When it's your personal work, you need to avoid fear. Here's the reason, at least me personally, and I would assume and guess that other creatives have the same thing. The reason you noodle a drawing to death is because you don't want to do the next one. You're like, oh yeah, this is awesome. This is great. Why don't I just, no. If I added one little speck and erase this one little thing around their eyeball, that'll make this drawing just that much better. And you can get caught up in that negative spiral tool. Put it down, move on to the next one. The more you do, the better you're going to get. That's that practice. Creative block, books. I love books. I mean, oh my gosh, man. I mean, so here I'm randomly picking this. This is a book that you're not going to find very many places. It's an awesome book. And it's by Brian LeMay, who is a Canadian guy. And, you know, you open up to a page and you see this bird's flight cycle and landing, right? And you sit there and you go, this is freaking awesome. How would I animate something like that? So books are a fantastic way to get inspired, and you know, I'll hopefully do something that's not too risque. Let me make sure before I open it. Oh, there you go. Okay, yeah. So this is this book, Pop Surrealism, and I kind of consider myself a surrealist. So if I was just a fine artist and just painting every day, this is kind of stuff that I would explore. So you get in there and you just flip through. Oh, cheers! As I throw my books everywhere. And you would just go and like look at this, look at the texture and the color, right? And just and I mean, I've just flipped through 2 pages and you can be inspired. And this goes through whether you're a UXer or whether you're a fine artist. Just look through what the really badasses in the industry are doing, and you should be able to get inspired.
I also love that your suggestion about books, because it's for me, you know, you've suggested a bunch of books to me that I've loved, but it's also made my Christmas list a lot better, because now instead of like, oh, I just want computer parts or I want that video game
Amazon
that,
gift card, man.
yeah, like I can just tell, well, everyone, you know, I don't feel so bad about asking my family for a $20 book, for whereas before I was asking them,
Oh
hey,
yeah.
give me that $80 computer part that I need. Like I need it, and they're perfectly happy. But you know, I feel less ashamed about a book, and it goes a lot further.
I'm going to give a shout out to Madeline. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing fine. I actually have a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, first I want to say thank you very much for this talk. You mentioned a few times how you can go to friends and they'll inspire you and make you think about new things. So thank you very much for this talk, and to Short Guys for hosting this. It's a very feel-good, inspiring conversation. So appreciate it. And my question is, I'm wondering if you're thinking about any other hobbies to explore, if you have any activities on your list.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So my projects are kind of wacky. This has also been a first. So I'll answer your question on the creative slide. One of the things I've really wanted to do for a long time, that at some point I will do it, is sculpting. I've always wanted to sculpt, right? I've wanted to get clay and just sculpt out figures. That's another thing. And I started off actually when I was in college, as my first degree, just exploring painting and charcoal and watercolor and oils, right, acrylics. And I'd love to get back into doing more painting on canvas again, because that's something I haven't done in a long time. So those are kind of some of the creative. And on the technical side, I want to create virtual worlds. I mean, I'm working with Preston to learn Unity because I have some really cool ideas, and I think that really it's unlimited what you could create in virtual reality. And so I would love to be a part of projects and work on projects that explore AR and VR because I believe the sky's the limit. Literally, your limit is imagination. I hope that answered that.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, and
I
go ahead.
Oh, I had another question. As far as networking and reaching out, what avenues have you really, done that through? What's your mindset and what's your strategy, maybe?
Sure. Okay. So network. Here's the thing about networks. Everything in life requires time. Time is the most precious commodity you have. And by the way, I appreciate all you guys for spending your time with me, because time is that one commodity that you can never get back, right? You can make more money, you can make more other things, but how you spend your time, once that time is gone, that's it. You can't get that time back. So I think, and you know what? I lost my train of thought there for a second. I got so consumed on time. Say it again.
I was just wondering, like, what's your strategies and what's your
Oh, that's right. That's right. The networking. I remember now. So networking also requires time. So I'm connected to about, between Facebook and LinkedIn, about 15,000 people. That's a lot of freaking people. So I have to be precious with my time, and Facebook and LinkedIn have allowed me to connect with people quickly by looking through the feeds and saying likes and quick comments and staying connected with a lot of different people. There's no way that before Facebook and LinkedIn, we would be able to literally phone or talk to 15,000 people a day or a week or whatever. So you have to use the tools that exist to be able to connect in different ways to people. As you post things, you all made the decision to connect with me today, and I appreciate that, and thank you very much. And I'm recognizing people like Will is always there. Hi, Will, by the way. And over time, what happens is you see people showing up, and those are the people you're saying, hey, I appreciate that. You spent some of the most valuable thing to me that I consider your time, agreeing to listen to me on a Saturday. So those help you. Thanks, man. Those help you create bonds, right? They help you create, say, hey, you're always showing up. You're depositing positive things in the piggy bank. You're liking my book. You're liking my podcast. You're liking my picture. You're liking my things. So while it's not about likes, it is a way to be able to see who wants to connect with you. And then when you find out who wants to connect with you, then you can agree to spend more time to get to know those people better. I think it's kind of like we're voting for each other, right? If we're both kind of saying, hey, I think you're interesting, obviously, maybe we should talk more, that type of thing. So I don't know if that was the best answer I've ever given, but it's basically, that's what I do, is use the tools that are out there to connect with people as much as possible.
No, I think that's great. I know for me, being involved with short guys, it's a lot easier. It's allowed me to connect to people, especially artists that I just normally wouldn't connect to, like Ben Morrow, who's over in Germany, and I have like weekly talks or questions, and he's more than willing to answer. But
I'm going to step on you a little bit and say
Sure.
that probably is the best thing about short guys, is I've had an opportunity to meet and get to know some amazing badasses that we've had come to industry giants and maintain those connections. I mean, the Bancroft brothers and Aaron Blaze and Mark Simon, and the list goes on and on and on and on. not only have they showed up, they have they've been able to you know, maintain connections with them over time. Is
Yeah,
that
they've kept engaged with our audience, which
yeah?
is really surprising. I know, and then that's another initiative behind the scenes we've done is just going and messaging, you know, our people and being like, hey, how are you doing? You know, how's everything affecting you? Are you okay? You know, and I find, you know, you just making sure, you know, the people that you follow, the people that you care about, you know, are doing okay during this time. I think that puts a lot, you know, out there, like, you know,
Well,
this personal connection and empathy.
you know, I had a talk with Vince, and Vince is just, you know, Vince Sidwell is, I would consider to be one of the heart and souls of Short Guys. And right now he's had to step back because he's had some personal things that have just, he's dealing with, and he's trying to do. So we had a conversation that he was kind of stepping back from Short Guys a little bit. And I've never wanted Short Guys to be the Jay Schuh show, and I was running it for about the first 4 years, and I recognized that if something happens to me, it could risk dying. So that's when we had other people kind of step up and do things. But every now and then, when I see that there's an opportunity to kind of show what Short Guys, which is about, which is community, and it's helping each other, and it's making people see that they're not alone, and there are people that care about you, and there is a place where you can go where people think like you do, are like you, and you can share ideas and get inspiration and not get wrapped up in the negative bullshit that's going on in a lot of the rest of the world. That this is a safe place where you can go to be among friends or potential friends. And that's the best thing about Short Guys. That's why I did this today, is because I think as artists, we're sensitive, we're creative, we're prone to depression. We need to know we're not alone. We need to know that there are people out there that care, and that you know, we're there for each other. I think that's, the community is the best part of what this exists, and we're making this now because of our circumstances. This is virtual. I loved getting together in person. I would love to shake hands and give hugs. I'm a huge hugger, so the fact that I can't hug people as much is like killing me because I'm an extrovert. But I give all of you right now a huge virtual bear hug from Jay, because you know that's the best I could do right now, and I can't wait to do it in person at some point in the future.
Yeah, that's a great note that I've kind of just missed going to lunch with you guys and having a coffee, or really a bit, technically really a beer. You know, we all know me.
Well, coffee, beer, whatever, all goes down the same tube. So,
oh, there was a question.
Oh, go ahead.
There's a question about, so when's your sequel coming out to Brillance?
Actually, I'm going to turf that a little bit to Bennett Litwin, who joined. So Bennett, how we doing on our next book, man?
We're doing pretty good. Jay hands me books to read. He's vociferous, and I'm a little pickier because I read scripts. And see this pile behind me? Those are scripts I've read. We're doing good. Jay's got such good ideas. In fact, Jay's one of my mentors. I'm older than him, obviously, but Jay's taught me so much in terms of network. Will Nicholson, who many of y'all know, I guess Will's one of your longtime Short Guys, right? Okay. Oh, well, Will has done a phenomenal job on the feature film that we're just coming out with in the next few weeks, Frackers. It's a sci-fi comedy. And without Jay, I wouldn't have met Will, and I wouldn't have co-written Brillance with Jay. And so one of the best parts to me of my life is the community of artists that I've met in the last probably 15, 20 years, largely from Jay, but also just other, I took it to heart. Network. I have a business background, and that's how you make money and make friends. And so I'm answering my own question, but it's probably going to be about a year. We have to digest and then come up with a format. We create characters, so there's a bit of a screenplay element to it. And I'm just glad to see all you guys. I've been peripheral. I go to Industry Giants, but I don't really have a lot of animation or game experience. Robert Atkins shared his wonderful thing with me. My computer is so ludidicious, is that or ludicious, that I couldn't even help him because I don't have enough bandwidth on my computer to help him. Word is basically my thing. But anyway, it's a thrill for me to see all you guys and meet all you guys virtually. And, as Jay says, it's way better in person. And Will put together a team. Will didn't do the CG by himself. Will has a team, and Will's network. We had, but anyway, it's a thrill for me to see all you guys and meet all you guys virtually. CG artists, concept design. I'm learning a lot. I'm still learning. Gosh.
So when so the book is right. It's a year if I can get my stuff together right. But I'm always the holdup, not Bennett. Bennett's amazing. But how can people watch Frackers, by the way, because you've been working on it for a number of years yourself. So what's the best way that people will be able to watch Frackers when it comes out?
I'm going to address your perfection thing too. We started in 2012. Studio Movie Grill is going to be reopening, and they want us to be one of their early features. The big stuff's not coming out till November, so if they open in June, we're going to be seen at a few select Studio Movie Grills. If we do well, we could make it to their 33 national screenings. So it's for you are the target audience because it's smart and quirky dudes, man, and girls and women. So, I think we're speaking to, and it's sci-fi. It's a sci-fi comedy about the afterlife. So it's esoteric, it's existential, it's funny. It is a comedy because nobody knows. So we'll see how we do our run. If not, we'll just go VOD and be able to download on Vimeo in June or July. But Frackers, this is part of my networking. Jay, how am I doing?
You're doing great, man. No, yeah. It's like I said, one of the reasons Bennett and I talked about the podcast is we're probably going to include some of the interviews from the podcast into the next version of the book. And so that's something that is I'm giving myself a reason to get the podcast done so that I can get some really good content for the book, so I can get that done to help more people. And that's that mindset shift that I've had to have, that the book is not about me. The book is about the content that can help more people like you. I mean, and if I tap into my why, which is to help people, then I should be focused on things that can help more people, and getting books and podcasts out there are going to help more people. So.
Yeah. I'm also going to address that, since you're a writer, you're a short guy. Any creatives are short guys. Okay. If you're creative, if you make stuff, if your passion is to be artistic, whether it's drawing, digital art, digital, animation, 2D animation, doesn't matter. Again, like I said at the beginning, Short Guys isn't dedicated to a software or a style or this, it's all creatives. That's why we do meetings like this. Our way is, going to Life Drawing 101. This is life experiences, that we talk about here. So I saw a few questions in the chat about that. So that's primarily what we talk about. Now in the Facebook groups, we share, snippets about writing, snippets about drawing, snippets about, Houdini's doing this, 3D Max is doing this free software is out here, because, we all, encompass all these different realms, like you've made this connection right here. We've also made other connections with filmmakers, with writing experts. We've had people look at our social media to, as writers and say, hey, what's our branding? So, a lot of these different networks that we talk about, kind of bring everyone together in this group. But that was a great question from Chris Perry of Worth. Jay, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I love Chris's question about illustrators and designers. Over my career, I've literally made money as an animator, cartoonist, designer, illustrator, writer, director, and producer, and then even photographer and developer. I was a web developer for about 10 years and multimedia developer for about 10 years in the 90s. I think it's about creatives. If you're creative and you want to come learn from other creatives, I think one of the best things about the big design conference and industry giants, which we've held together for the past few years when we're in person, is that the conference tends to be about problem solving. It's about getting really smart people that have figured stuff out and getting to listen to them and learn from their mistakes. When we talk, I mentioned in my talk about mentors. Mentors help you save time. And I said, time is the most valuable commodity you have in your life because you have a limited amount of time. Whether your lifetime is 45 years or your lifetime is 95 years, that time is still limited, and it's about you making the most of that time. And if you can find mentors that can kind of cut your time down on how you learn things and provide insights and perspectives that you don't currently have, that increases your ability to get better faster. Lizzie, are you still there? She's not even listening. Oh, okay.
It says she's here in Zoom, so she'll probably bounce in a second. While we're waiting for her, Cynthia Gross was asking, how do you know when to let go of a project?
Oh, when to let throw out your baby, as they say in writing.
Yeah, and I don't know if they're talking about professional or just side hobby project.
Oh, yeah, I guess those are two different questions. So let me approach the personal project first. And maybe I'm the worst person to answer this question because I have projects that I have tried and attempted to start multiple times, and I never let them go. But one of the things, Walt Disney, if you read the life of Walt Disney, one of the things that made him so successful eventually was persistence. So I never really get rid of a lot of ideas. I put them down. I guess one thing that I was producer of the short Express Lane, that originally was something that we were doing at Short Guys, and I guess I'll use that as an example. We had tried to reboot that process twice, and then at some point it became clear to me that the short was never going to be done, and I didn't want to drag people on indefinitely for a project that would never be released. So I kind of stopped producing it.
That's because there's a deadline we have to meet. We have to say, drop pencils, we got to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that in professional projects, man, that's if you're getting paid, you got to deliver unless you want to talk to lawyers. So I think that maybe if it's a job, if you're dreading going into your job every day and it just sucks, now may not be the best time to quit. You probably want to keep your job during COVID. But I would say that if your job is really bumming you out on a regular basis, you need to try to find a new job. I mean, and sometimes the same thing applies to a project. If you're just not loving the project and you're just kind of beating that dead horse, then find something else that you are passionate about, that you can get behind, that you can make more progress on. That would be my take on that one.
So Jay, my name was called. Hi.
Yes.
Hello.
You and I have been working together on a little tiny project, right?
Yes, we have been.
Okay. Can you tell the folks here a little bit about the process of mentorship, of what you have learned in a short period of time?
So first and foremost, Jay, I learned you're full of shit. I'm kidding. No. No. Okay. So, all right. What I've learned is that with a mentor-mentee type of like relationship there, it has been a lot of improvement all kind of at once versus, like, lack of better phrase, just like being like working on stuff by myself. I had my own process, I had my own way. I'm very stubborn, so, like, you know, that happens. And it adds a certain amount of perspective there that I could not have gotten on my own, because I have not had the experiences that you have, nor a lot of people have. That's why I also think it's important to go to these webinar type of things, because you get to hear a lot of perspectives and a lot of things just to, like, kind of get out of your own mindset, which I think is very important.
Yeah, I think mentors, and I have tons of mentors. Bennett is also
Sorry, my dog is growling. Sorry.
Yeah, so I think having mentors helps you get that perspective of experience, and you learn from it, and it helps you avoid sometimes costly mistakes in terms of not only money but also time.
I do feel like I've learned more in the period of time that I've had these mentor-mentee type relationships, more in this, like, smaller time frame than I have basically as a self-taught or trying to help myself, just because there's so many experiences that you just don't know if you haven't been in the business.
Yeah. So I see Peter Robbie had a question. Once we make the decision to switch careers, what would be something that you could just help someone in transition, specifically fear of failure, moving from UX, UI to animation in a studio? So, okay, here's my take on this anyways. Every time I have done something in the interest of security, it has always turned out worse for me. Every time I have done something because I am passionate about it, or I think it's what I need to do, it's been difficult, and I've had false starts, and I've fallen down, and I've had to pull myself back up. But eventually, it works out better for me in the long run. So one of my sayings that I have is basically everything always works out in the long run. And I believe that's true with Corona. Everything always works out in the long run. Unfortunately, we just don't know how long the run is. And so that holds true for the coronavirus. It holds true for your career. It's just a matter of, again, that concept of time, and then how you decide you want to spend that time. And if you're transitioning to a new career, practice, research, network. If you follow that guideline, that framework, you will get better. And if you persist and don't give up and pull yourself up, then you'll eventually get a job and get a career. If you quit, you won't. It's kind of that simple.
So
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So I want to add, if you're talking about in a studio, like you're already established somewhere, it may vary studio to studio. At my studio or my place, we do like yearly reviews. We do yearly talks with our managers to basically say, hey, this is what I did last year, and this is what the side projects I have in mind to, where either our projects could benefit from, or maybe I see, this avenue, and maybe it's an avenue that basically will take you into that different realm. Let's say you're doing 3D modeling, but you want to focus in VR, and so you start making that transition with the conversation. I think our friend Alan McKay, he writes into his contracts. Even if he has like a year-long contract, he has like these stepping stones in his contract of like, I'm going to sit down with the VFX supervisor, and we're going to talk about what happened and what we see happening forward in my career. I know some studios aren't exactly like that, but if you can build that into your work structure, I think it's very beneficial, especially for my department. We've all like talked to each other about the new things that we want to try, and we've been able to just like, this project came up and they're talking about something like that. So, and then you were talking about this. So why don't we have you plugged in on this new thing, or have you made any inroads? You become the go-to guy, as this new process becomes, something you are looking into.
So I wanna pick on somebody else who I'm really proud of, because I always pick on people I'm proud of. So Lauren Parr, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
So can you talk a little bit about how we met and your transition into UX?
Oh, yeah, sure. So, I have a friend named Charles, and Charles, based on what he knew about me, highly recommended that I meet this guy named Jay Schuh, because apparently he's a genius, he knows everything, and he will, like, get your life straightened out, and, just you got to meet him. So he introduced me to him, and I loved what I heard. I visited his class, is what it was, and I was just like, oh my God, this is just like a TED talk. And I met Jay, and I was like, I will be back. And so I signed up for his class the next semester, and Charles was totally right. And I didn't even know what UX really was before meeting Jay. But by listening to him and doing a lot of learning and looking at the resources that he would point me to, I realized that this is an area that really kind of brought together these kind of like disparate areas that I had experiencing. Because it's like, well, okay, you have illustration, I used to teach, I did retail, and like, how can you bring these like things, these passions together? And UX was a space where that occurred. He invited me to some of the meetup groups. So, he was mentioning network, and I met, his boss, Brian Sullivan. And, Jay also introduced me to the head of research at Sabre, because I was interested in UX research. And so I'm trying to like make this as short as possible, but like so much happened in a really short amount of time. Like this all happened within like, a couple months, like three, I don't know, a semester, we'll say. And it's like, I went from, being a student working at Clinique, trying to figure out what I want to do with my life, to, today I work at Sabre, being a UX design strategist. So, a very condensed form would just be to do the things that Jay says. They're very life changing. His insights are really good, and I know that my life would not look the way it does if not for him.
Well, I just want to say that I am super, super proud of Lauren, because there are very, 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 very few people that are as dedicated to getting what they want and doing an amazing job as Lauren. And I couldn't ask for a better colleague than Lauren. I'm so proud of her for everything that she's accomplished in her life. And yes, I give advice, but there are plenty of people out there who don't follow it or don't listen. And Lauren has. But she's put in the hard work. She deserves all the credit that she's gotten for where she is right now, because she did it. She got in there, she made it happen. She did the studying, she did the hard work, she showed up to the community groups, she read the books, she did what she needed to do. And that's, if there's a common theme in today's talk, is if you want things, you have to do it. Another thing I'll say in my class is, I'll say all the time, if you want the same results as everybody else, do what everybody else does. If you want different results, then you have to do things differently. And most everybody else is playing video games or watching Netflix or doing nothing and sitting there waiting to see what happens to this thing. Don't be one of those people unless you want the same results as everybody else. Do things differently. Use this time to make yourself a better artist, a better creative, and turn that wish into a goal, right? And the only way you turn wishes into goals is to make things actionable and then move forward on the things that are going to have you doing the thing you say you want to do.
I also want to bring up one more thing. We were talking about some creative advice and moving to new places. During this time, I'm noticing a lot more companies, they're looking at remote, work where, people are remote working left and right, but then companies aren't adverse as they were as you working from home from Dallas, but you're actually working in Canada, or you're working in New York and you want to work in LA. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people, some recruiters, they're just like, yeah, we don't care if you work at home. We're not gonna have anyone in the studio for 6 more months. So, right now the projects got to get done. As we've seen with Netflix, Disney, VOD releases, projects are still coming out. You know, tons of projects are still coming out. Video games are still coming out. That's not going to slow down. Whether this takes 3 months or a year to come out, projects are still going to keep on coming out. So I think if you wanted to make that move, or you wanted to expand your horizons to something new, this is actually a great time. It may take a little more work, and being a little more out there and forward thinking. But I've also noticed that people have reached out to me, just telling me these stories of like they're being reached out to, and they don't even, the question of like where I work from is not even in the cards. It's like that's step three, of the conversation. So if you guys want to do something like that, I would say, this is the time to do it. Because I mean, I've worked in this industry for over 15 years. I worked in LA for a year, and the only reason I got that job is because I did what John Stratz did, was I changed my phone number in Google Number to a LA area code, and then LA jobs started calling me. But now they don't even care about that. So, and me and John, we had to wrap up our life in a weekend and take all our stuff down there and live in a hotel room, But you guys can actually get established now with the studio, even if it's just a freelance week project, or something, but then they'll trust you to go and do that next thing. And maybe, who knows, you'll stay working, in Dallas. So anyways.
So here's something I'm going to riff off what you just said, and it gives hope to everybody on this call, hopefully, is the fact that I think companies are reevaluating how they think about people working from home.
Yeah.
Right. So getting a job in UX or getting a job in animation or whatever, a lot of it used to kind of, because of the studio mentality and the studio vibe, used to meant that you have to work somewhere close to home. I think that's changing, which means then that you have the ability to apply for jobs that are anywhere in the world right now. If you've got an internet connection that can handle it and you can deliver and you've got a computer and everything, you can literally work anywhere you want. And I think more and more CEOs are going to be open to the idea of allowing employees to work from home, because it saves them money from the offices that they have to pay for. And I think they're looking at those cost-cutting measures now more than ever. So I think being a virtual expert, learning the tools and learning how to work remotely, if I were to give you one bit of professional advice, whether you're in teaching, whether you're in UX or animation or illustration, it's the ability to work remotely effectively that people are going to want those skill sets on top of your discipline that you have. So that's what I would focus on in the next 2 or 3 months, is all the remote software like Mural or Miro, learning those different tools, learning about remote facilitation and how to do some of these different things in online learning. Those are the things that are going to set you apart. And those are things you're going to want to talk about in the interviews coming up, because companies are going to want people that know how to work remotely effectively.
I think that's a great point. I think we're getting to a stopping point.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's fine. Yeah. And and that might change, come a year from now, after a year that we go back to living normal. That mentality is working in the studio may become, just everyone come back. But for now, this is a good transition point of like getting your stepping stone, into those places that weren't available to you before. Yep. Guys, I want to say thank you again to everyone who could make it out. If you could make it out, watch us on the YouTube recording. I don't know if they'll be on Facebook recording, but there's ways to find it. Yeah, it should be. Again, thank you so much. This is it's really nice to see that everyone came, so many people. I think we have over 40, 50 people watching live right now. So this has been really great. If y'all got questions, just go to a bunch of short guys at gmail.com. You can email us there. Yeah, the best place I tell everyone just to go on our Facebook at a bunch of short guys on Facebook and just become a member, become an active member. Show us your sketches, show us your work in progresses. If we have enough, participation there, we'll start doing monthly challenges. I would love to start challenging folks, but I just don't know who's gonna challenge me. So so there's my challenge. Everyone challenge your fellow guys out there. So email us if you got questions. Go to Facebook, message people. If you got questions there, questions, we're always
Hey,
here.
could you say the email again, please?
A bunch of short guys at gmail.com.
Thank you.
Thank you. But yeah, remember, guys, stay safe, stay separated. Social distance is still a thing. Wear those masks. But above all, art on. Guys, I love you all, okay?
All right, guys. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. I really appreciate it. And I'm wishing everybody the best and be more creative. All right, get it done.
Thank you, Jay.
All right. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
There you go. Way to show people what to do.
We need to get a short guy one. We need to get one with the short guy.
If you get a custom printed short guy's mask, I want it.